All right, well, good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock, December the 17th, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll first turn to administration to ask if there are any additions to the agenda.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve. One addition, one deletion, if I may. First of all, under CIO report, based on our conversation Friday with our joint council meeting on Friday, I'd like to add on the intermunicipal collaboration framework conversation, and we can have a chat about that at that time.
All right, thank you. Council, any other additions?
And one removal, Deputy Reeve. Mr. Chambers was going to bring an update on library funding contracts, and he's unable to be with us today, so if we could defer that to our January meeting, please.
Okay, that'd be fine. All right, so that is 16B in closed session. All right, thank you. All right, so council, are there any other additions? I see some lights on here. Donna, so I'll go to you first.
Yes, if we could ratify my attendance at the RMA water availability Zoom meeting.
Okay, so we'll put that on meeting dates. 15C.
Oh,
Is there a date for that one? That we can
um,
include?
what day was it on? Like it's all late.
It's in the past.
Yeah.
Last week, wasn't it?
December 11th.
Yeah, December 11th.
December the 11th. Thank you. Councillor Westerlund, go ahead.
If I may add under general matters, 12D, Taverner Pit update and continued concerns.
12D and which pit?
Gravel, Taverner's gravel pit,
Taverner's Gravel? Okay.
update and continued concerns.
All right, I think that's everything. Carrie, your light's green. Are you all right?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
All right. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. All right, the adoption of the minutes, regular council meeting, December 3rd, 2024. Any amendments, any adjustments, deletions? Hearing none, seeing none. I'd ask for a motion to adopt. Councillor Gunderson, go ahead.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 3rd, 2024 regular council meeting.
Great, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. No, not yet. Yeah. All right, any business arising? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move into CAO reports, item 4, and I'll turn that over to our CAO, Rudy Friesen. Go ahead.
One item, Deputy Reeve, under CAO report, and it's just a follow-up and a request to council. During our joint council meeting with Drayton Valley Town Council, we heard of the recommendation from Alberta Municipal Affairs that we defer intermunicipal framework conversations until such time as new legislation comes out in the spring. That was relative to a specific date for renegotiating ICF framework with the town of Drayton Valley. I wanted to bring that up because we have other ICF agreements with other municipalities in our jurisdiction. So I wonder if it's in our best interest to just have a resolution to defer all ICF conversations until such time as new legislation comes out from the province.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that. Councillor Heinrich, go ahead.
Rudy, in order for it to work, though, like the town agreed to defer, I think, the other municipalities that are affected would likewise have to agree?
Yes, I think it would be imperative that we reach out to them and provide them the update and get their permission. Having said that, at the time of this meeting, I can't confirm whether we did have a specific date for renewal of the ICF with the town of Drayton. As I sit here today, I'm not aware if we had specific dates with our agreements with other municipalities.
So the motion that you would want is then just specific to Drayton Valley or for all?
The request is to expand it to all of them, to just indicate that until such time as the new legislation comes out from the province, it's probably best that we wait with all of them, as per the recommendation from the Deputy Minister.
So I would make a motion then that we
Go ahead.
delay the ICF renewal, framework renewals as per the suggestion of our deputy minister. That's covered?
All right, Councillor Heinrich moved that. Discussion, Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, so I might have missed it, but do we know what the date roughly that the province is going to come out with this legislation? First quarter. Okay, okay. Then that's not a big deal.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councillor Westland, go ahead.
Thank you. Indication spring setting, so sometime between March and April, but I would assume they would also suggest that this is delayed, or any discussions or any negotiations are delayed until after the municipal election as well. So even if the legislation does come out in the spring, I would highly suspect that they'll encourage municipalities to wait till after the municipal election. Because these type of negotiations, some will take longer than others, so.
I concur. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. All right, well, we have a delegation here this morning. It's scheduled for 10 o'clock, but I see no reason that we can't just move into that right now. So, Kundi, are you willing to come ahead and let us know a little bit about yourself? Please introduce yourself to us again and let us remind us of your role there at Town of Drayton Valley.
Absolutely. Good morning, County Council, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Kundiso, and I'm the Growth Services Manager for the Town of Drayton Valley. And so within that portfolio, we look at economic development, education, and just a little of energy. And for my presentation today, I'll mostly be speaking to the education management plan that was recently passed by the town November 13, 2024. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, I think just to begin, I just wanted to put it out there that I'm not here to sell the county on anything. This is just for information, really, just to share with the county on some of the plans that the Growth Services Department and the town have been looking towards doing when it comes to education, and honestly just trying to work in symmetry with the county as well. And so this education management plan, when it was put together, the idea was for it to be a framework around the town's education portfolio, with the county being a very pivotal part in that. And so in going over the plan, we thought to address 4 major areas of discussion. The first having to do with the approach to education. And within this section, we do try to speak on which areas of focus the town should be and the county should be looking more towards, partnership development as well. And then we have a section on the CETC building utilization plan, and within it we do a budget assessment. We look at the current utilization of the space, and we look at cost recovery models and trying to see what we can gain out of the space. We also have a section on the zero-fee tuition program, which the county recently allocated $60,000 towards, and we do a bit of data analysis, goals on the program, and we do propose a bit of restructuring on the program itself. And then last but not least, we look at the advocacy piece within the education plan. And within that plan, we do have a few proposals, like, so a commitment to Northern Lakes College. We look at the collegiate model, and as well a partnership with Brazeau County. And so in going through all these talking points through the plan, we do also try to also underline a few project proposals for us to undertake, as well constraints that we see in taking those proposals and success criteria just to measure ourselves by in trying to achieve these things. And so this is all guided by a vision to be a regional hub of advanced learning and professional development. And this comes hand in hand with the mission to foster a vibrant and accessible education environment in Drayton Valley and area. And this is all driven by the values of being community-driven, collaborative, accessible, and sustainable. And so just to start things off, in the approach to education section, this is where we reached out to all our post-secondary institution partners and just asked them on what they have when it comes to data on enrollment numbers within the area. And so in looking at it, of course, when you look at the Healthcare Aid Academy, it's by far the most popular program that's offered through the town of Drayton Valley, and having 41 students from 2022 to 2024. But also quite surprised, honestly, by how diverse the interests were with some of the other programs that we saw and the other partners that we have. So with Northern Lakes College having 13 students having enrolled through the early learning and childcare program, 8 through social work, and not to mention 47 graduated or enrolled through the University of Alberta Continuing Education, and seeing that 9 going through social media, 8 through occupational health and safety, and I think around 16 through leadership-related courses. And so, so the point in writing this section within our education plan was just to point out how diverse the interests we're seeing when it comes to education attainment within the region. And just trying to think about ways that we can accommodate some of those, diverse interests that we're seeing from the people. And so from there, we also do take a look at partnership development. And so with partnership development, as the county already knows, we have currently 5 partners, post-secondary partners through education, Campus Alberta Central, we have the University of Alberta Continuing Education, Northern Lakes College, we also have the Healthcare Aid Academy, and most recently the University of Calgary Registered Nurse Program. And so with this selection of partners, they all offer quite a different selection of courses. And so in looking at these partnerships, the University of Alberta, for example, has 200 plus courses, 40 plus programs through it. Northern Lakes College, they're very particularly strong when it comes to trades and apprenticeship. And then we also have, the Healthcare Aid Academy, students going through the Healthcare Aid, and of course, University of Calgary with the Registered Nurse Program, and Campus Alberta is more or less an administrative body for Olds College and Red Deer Polytechnic. And so in looking at all the vast, I guess, number of courses that people can assign for or apply for, we just tried looking at where those strengths are when it comes to partnership development and seeing if we can build them a little more, and just to sustain some of these partners that we have instead of just getting more and more partners. And there was also a few discussions around if there could be more valuable forms of partnership outside of just traditional post-secondary institutions. And so in looking past that, then when we look at the project proposals section, this is where we thought to just lay out a few things that we thought we can try to actualize within the education plan. And so for that section itself, I just went over, we were looking at broadening education areas of focus and looking beyond just trades and healthcare programs. Also when it comes to the partnership development piece, looking beyond just post-secondary partners and considering community partners and industry partnerships and just seeing what that might look like. As well, delivering partnership enhancement initiatives. And so this is something that we thought would help, just prolonging some of the partnerships we have with the town and the county working together and just trying to provide services to them. So one of those things will be, cross-promoting and advertising programs, which is something we're just trying to work on. And there's also the student recreation package, which we're happy to be a partners with the county on, offering a reduced rate for the combined pool and gym pass to students. So this is one of those things that we thought we can offer as a service. Even now there are discussions around the daycare service as well, and then the student locker rental, just all those things that we can sort of add with any post-secondary that wants to be a partner with us and just trying to help their students as best as we can. And then there's also establishing partner responsibilities, trying to see if there's anything that they can offer us within that partnership to sustain it, and then a few discussions as well about staggering our approach to healthcare education. So this came after a workshop discussion in which we were talking to Alberta Health Services, and in talking to them, and speaking about some of the successes we've been having with healthcare aid students coming to the program, then the discussion became about capacity and just really trying to see if, community, just like Drayton Valley and the county, can actually accommodate all those healthcare aid students and what those capacities can be, and whether it's a better approach to stagger some of these offerings so that we can accommodate other professions as well within the community. And so this mostly covers the first section. I don't know if you have any questions at all. If not, I can just move on to the next section.
Yep. Carry on, sir.
Okay, thank you. So the next section, which honestly was probably the most difficult for us, was the CETC building utilization plan. And so, as most of you know about the CETC, I believe it came into conception 2015. That's when the CETC was built, and back then when it was built, the whole idea behind it was to build the bioeconomy, with the biomile being a driving force for that. And so this was an industry, the town was trying to target. And so fast forward from then up to now, it just hasn't worked out the way that the town had planned. And so the CETC became more of an education building, right, with Norquest being there for a while, and then the town now having all these partnerships, forming sort of a consortium. And so, this is one of those things where we've seen how the CETC, the purpose for it has changed quite a bit, and just trying to make sense of what the future might look for it, really. And so we went through a budget assessment for this building and just trying to see where some of those costs were going and revenues we're making from the building, as you can see below in the table. So it's particularly not a lot of revenue from it, and as you can see, it's also a very multi-purposeful building. Some revenue coming from education, some from events, some from tenant revenues. And so when you look at the current building utilization, you can see, I'm not sure actually if you can see clearly, but right now we have the Healthcare Aid Academy lab in there. We have a classroom for Northern Lakes College. We also have classroom for homeschoolers and then for tutors. And then the rest of the area that's not labeled is usually used for multi-purpose spaces. So people have conferences, they can come in, weddings, they can come utilize the CETC. We even have funerals as well at the CETC. So it's very much used for any purpose. And so in looking at this, we also then started trying to figure out what the cost breakdown might be for the building. And so in looking at those costs and trying to categorize them, we could just see that it's capital-intensive investment, basically. A lot of the costs that go to it is to basically accommodate for all the capital expenses, and with a bit for labor and just 5% for other, which is ground maintenance and supplies. And so when you typically deal with a capital-intensive investment, it's really hard to shift costs around because they're all very fixed costs, right? And so these are costs that just come with having the building. And so this is us really just trying to sit back and just trying to better understand, how to operationalize this building, knowing that so much of it is just very much capital driven. And so taking all of that into account, we then work towards just having a few proposals that we thought can help revitalize some of that space. So the first, really just offering it as an option is, if council wants it, we could just leave it as status quo, just keeping the space as it is, as a multi-use space. The second option is for it to be more pivoted towards being an education hub, making it just a hub for any and all community groups that are in some ways related to education, just having them all in one space, which would drive up utilization and hopefully have more people come to the space. And then the last one was really considering what education would look like without the CETC in place. And this is mostly driven by us trying to see if there's other ways we can utilize the space, right, and just looking at education elsewhere. And then as well, the second item we looked at within that area was just to look at CETC fees and rates, just trying to see if there's anything we can look at there to increase revenue. And so with the status quo, this is mostly what it would look like, which is very similar to the diagram before, where the space just stays as it is. It's very multi-purposeful and just continues being that space. The second option, at least within our proposal, would look more like this, where we would try to just make it a hub for other community groups. And so the ones we were looking at that we could see some form of symmetry with, which I think we discussed in one of the joint council meetings, was looking to see if the library would be interested in being hosted at the CETC, and to be accompanied by community learning. And this would also be there. This will be there with what we currently have with healthcare aid and with Infinity Learning, with Northern Lakes College, and just making this more of a central space for all these community groups that are in some ways aligned really in what they try to do. And with the last option, this is where we just try to expand our thinking, not just limiting the CETC as being an education hub, but looking at the town really as an education hub and trying to pick out all those various groups throughout the town that we think as a whole basically would function the same way as the CETC would. So for example, the library has exam proctoring and invigilation, printing and support services. And the Pembina Nordic Center has facilities for education as well. There's a community outreach school which offers dual credit in the collegiate model. There's the community learning, which as well does exam proctoring and invigilation. And so basically just looking at all these support groups and just trying to support them so that they can offer services to students. And so this pretty much sums up the second portion of the education plan. If you have any questions at all, you can raise them. If not, I'll just continue on to the next one. Perfect. And so next section, which I believe the county is quite familiar with, is the zero fee tuition program. So the zero fee tuition program is a program that's been offered through the town, where we basically allot up to $5,000 for any students looking to take education programming through any number of our partners. And so the $5,000 only goes towards tuition, and so for the past 3 years, it's only been for Drayton Valley residents that were able to take these programs. And so looking at some of the data on how some of these funds have been dispersed, we just thought to try to categorize it by the partnerships to see, well, for all the students that are taking these programs, like who was actually using the program the most. And so we could clearly see that, Healthcare Aid Academy students were the ones that were taking advantage of the program the most, followed, 38% by Northern Lakes College, and the University of Alberta just 5%. And then, right beside the pie chart, we also then looked at the number of enrollments and just seeing, really enrollments versus ZFT applications, and just trying to see, well, okay, where are we actually missing students, or what's going on? And so when you look at Northern Lakes College, right, 21, in total, you have 43 people that enrolled, with 21 enrolling but not taking zero fee, and 22 enrolling and taking zero fee. You have the University of Alberta, where it's 47 in total that have enrolled, with 44 of them not taking zero fee tuition, and all of Healthcare Aid Academy taking zero fee tuition. And so this, to us, really just spoke to how we can better market the program to people, just to make them aware of what's available to them, and just expand that offering to all the students in all the other programs, and just trying to get them to capitalize on it. And so in looking at that, then we started looking at what restructuring the zero fee tuition could potentially look like to better accommodate all these needs and demands that we're seeing from the community. And so there definitely is a lot of information in this, on this slide. But the way it's meant to look is just we are trying to create two separate categories when it comes to tuition assistance. So we have a primary focus area category, and then we have a secondary focus area category. So for the primary focus areas, these are areas that we thought were strategic priorities for the town and the county. And so within those areas, we look at emergency responders, healthcare professionals, human service careers. We look at apprenticeship and trades, And then for the secondary focus areas, that's where we'll look at business and administration. We have resource technology and parks and recreation. And so the primary difference between the two, between the primary and secondary, is the amount of money that's allotted to them, with 5,000 being allotted to primary focus areas and 2,000 being allotted to secondary focus areas. We just thought this would be a good way of spreading out the money and just having as many students really participate in the program, but as well trying to prioritize and incentivize students that are looking to take those primary focus areas. And another change really that we thought would make a lot of sense with this tuition assistance program is looking at some of the eligibility criteria. I mean, as it currently stands, anyone can apply for the program, which is great, and anyone can get tuition assistance. But in really trying to provide tuition assistance to those that need it the most, we thought it would make a lot of sense to make it just available to students that can show proof that they qualify for student loans, since those students will be filtered through the province and will be designated as people that actually have that financial need. From there, also, that eligibility criteria would extend to the county, so having residents of Drayton Valley or the county. And then last but not least, we did look at just changing the name instead of the zero fee tuition. We're thinking of having it as a tuition assistance bursary, and this is more or less having to do with how there could be some tax implications with having something named as a bursary versus just zero fee tuition. And so this pretty much sums up, a lot of what we're trying to do with the restructuring for the zero fee. And so we just thought to bring this forward only because with the county approving $60,000, and so this is something that would directly impact the county with how it would want to participate in a program like this. And so if this is something that the county wants to continue forward with the new restructuring, we can certainly do so. But if the county wants to revert back to what the program is currently, we can keep it as is. But we just thought to just let the county know about some of those ideas we're looking at least when it comes to zero fee tuition. And so with that, within that section for zero fee tuition, we thought to just, list all those project proposals, the first being renaming the program, which I just went over. So expanding tuition assistance to Brazeau County residents as well, expanding funding to all accredited Alberta post-secondary institutions. And so with that provision, we're really just looking at that core principle for us in making the program, or at least education, accessible for anyone. And we're thinking, why not make this accessible to any person that's taking, a program through an Alberta post-secondary institution, not only just limited to the partners that we have, right? And then as well, looking at including academic upgrading students as someone that should be eligible for the assistance as well, the student loan eligibility, and then that primary and secondary focus of areas, which is the last part of some of those amendments we're looking to make. And so this more or less covers most of what I had to discuss when it comes to the zero tuition program section. If you have any questions at all, you can for sure raise them. If not, I'll just continue as is.
You're doing great.
Good, thank you. And so, so this is the last piece, really. And so this was a recent addition to the education plan, having to do with advocacy. Just in talking to council and in talking to some of the community groups, we know that advocacy is a very strong part in trying to build something that's sustaining. And so within this advocacy piece, we basically took a look back at all the ways that the town has tried to advocate for education. With some advocacy working, and with some of it just not working as well. And so in talking to some of our partners, particularly Northern Lakes College, we thought one strong advocacy piece would be for us to make a formal commitment to Northern Lakes College. And this will be to have them as basically our anchor education partner. Just being that we've been in partnership with them for 3 years and just signed a new agreement with them for another 3 years. And from the post-secondary institutions, them and Healthcare Academy are the only ones that have a classroom in the CETC. And, in looking at all the programs that they offer, trades and apprenticeship, for example, it just seemed that what they offer heavily aligns with what the town is looking for, at least when it comes to those primary focus areas. And so in just looking at Healthcare Aid Academy alone, right, just through the Drayton Valley location, so they support 109 students through that location, which we thought was just, quite impressive from those 2 years. And as well, Northern Lakes College is a rural college, with their primary campus being on Slave Lake, which is very comparable to Drayton Valley. And so we thought, there is a lot of symmetry there with how they function in Slave Lake as they can here in Drayton Valley. And this also not to mention that Northern Lakes brings over 50 years of experience in supported distance learning. And so, supported distance learning, it is something that's come more into prominence since COVID, with a lot of post-secondaries offering just distance learning or virtual learning. And we almost seem to forget that Northern Lakes have been doing this for 50 years. So prior to COVID, they were already doing this. And it's something that's very important to them, and it's a core deliverable because it helps keep people in rural Alberta, right? If kids or even young adults want to take education but then still stay in the community that they're in, supported distance learning is something that Northern Lakes offers. And as well, just to mention that Northern Lakes spans over 15 First Nations and 4 Métis settlements located all throughout their service region. And in us making this formal commitment to Northern Lakes, the idea was that we would become a college campus for them. As it currently stands, I believe we are a partnership campus, but then becoming a college campus would basically show that commitment to them and hopefully have them invest more in Drayton Valley and Brazeau County as a service area, and and just see what that might look like when it comes to the future. And so from there, another advocacy piece we thought would make a lot of sense is just trying to work with some of our school divisions. And a thing that comes to mind for us was trying to advance dual credit or collegiate model offerings. And so when it comes to dual credit and collegiate models, what it basically is, at least to my understanding, is that it's a way to create consistency and continuity when it comes to education delivery by creating pathways for students that are still in high school to start taking, basically college credits while still in high school, which makes it easier for them to sort of advance towards, whatever profession they're looking to get into, and also just advance towards post-secondary education if they so choose to. And so for Drayton Valley, it's home to, Frank Maddox High School and, the Waldorf School Division. They have great, facilities there. When they're during the grand opening for the school, for the powerhouse, and, they had a great carpentry space at Frank Maddox. They have a great, auto body space and carpentry space. And so what the college model basically does is they look at all these facilities that high schools have, and they then work towards having the school division work with the post-secondary institution, so that the post-secondary institution can then allow for the students to opt into pre-employment work or courses. And so there's a certain number of hours that students would have to take within some of these courses that are offered, and if they do pass those courses, then that counts as credit, right, towards towards that post-secondary education, or that can lead them to having a job. And so this is something that we thought would work quite well, and just given all the facilities we have right here in the town and the county as well. And, as we mostly know, I think almost 50% of the students that go to some of these schools are county students, right? So we thought this would impact both the town and the county quite well. And so when it comes to the project proposals, which I just went through, there's the Northern Lakes commitment, there's advancing the dual credit and collegiate models. And then last but not least, we also thought to lay out in the plan just having a collaborative piece with the Brazeau County in trying to advocate and push education forward. And so far, I think we've done pretty well, really, in having the student recreation package is something that both the town and the county worked on. And also the county having just approved, $6,000 for the tuition assistance program is something that's quite pivotal for us. And, something else I would hope to talk to the county later on will be the daycare package. And honestly, it's one of those things where we're just open to just trying to build and strengthen that relationship more. and just seeing what more we can do when it comes to education. And this pretty much covers all that I have to discuss within this plan. And as I said before, this was just mostly just for information, just to show the county on the things that we're planning to do. And so come 2025, we will be coming forward with an implementation plan. And so with that implementation plan will be a little more detailed than what was provided in the education plan, and it will just structure, you know, the ways that we would want to phase in some of those proposals that we had put forward. And so with that said, I would just open it up for any questions or discussions from council. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kundu. So you display proficiency in your field of expertise. Thank you for this report. I appreciate it. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Gunderson, go ahead.
I appreciate the report as well. I think you were kind of left with a pile of garbage there, and you're steering this in a pretty good direction there. I'm happy with the way things are going. It looks pretty bright. I think that if the Northern Lakes College, to me, that is a great idea to collaborate with them. I've seen what they've done up north, and if they could bring some of that, more of that here for the nursing program and stuff like that, it'd be a great ally. Well done.
So, thank you.
Yeah, Donna, go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation. So the apprenticeship part of it, so would they be going to classes at the CETC, or would they still be in the high school taking the classes?
So through the chair to Councillor Wilster.
Wiltsey, yeah.
Wiltsey, thank you. So funny enough, just I guess 2 weeks ago, the province opened up funding for the collegiate model, and the Wild Rose School Division is looking at applying for the collegiate model. And in having discussions with them, this is something where they would want students to take classes at Frank Maddox. And so this will be open to all students from other schools as well. And so it'll all be at Frank Maddox. And really the idea behind that is that Frank Maddox has those facilities, right? They have that carpentry space that's quite large. They have the teachers. I think they have 2 teachers on staff that are Red Seal, professionals. And so they have that education piece as well.
Yeah, I had the privilege of teaching at Frank Maddox High School, Trades and Technologies. It's it was a great opportunity for me, and we're all proponents of post-secondary education. I think that's fair to say. Councillor Heinrich, go ahead. You got a comment?
Yeah, on one of your presentation points, you spoke about the library's potential being in the CETC. Can you give us a little more detail there in terms of, how would I call it, suitability for the library and based on their observations and their comments?
Certainly, through the chair to Councillor Heinrich. So we did, open up these discussions with the library earlier this year just to have some thoughts and feedback on what they think makes sense for them. And so they came to this space, they looked at it, we measured it, just trying to see what the square footage is as compared to their current space. And so it's one of those things where, at least from the feedback we received from the library, it's something that they're interested in, but it'll be something though that they would have to basically plan out. And once they have that plan in place, they will tell us what that might look like for them when it comes to, cost, when it comes to even just the equipment. They would have to change a few of their things. As you know, the space at the CETC is quite different. So the ceiling is a bit lower, and with the ceiling being a bit lower, when it comes to where they store your books, that might be a little different. When it comes to storage, that might be a little different. We did also talk about transportation as well. That might potentially be an issue with the CTC not being a central space. And so for right now, honestly, so the library, we just came to them as just with a proposal. And so we just kind of left it to them to see what they think makes sense for them. And then they'll come back to us if this is something that they want to pursue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, Donna, go ahead. I've got another question.
So the daycare, has there been much discussion about that? Or is it kind of like the library, just not really sure?
So with the daycare, actually, there's been great discussion with them. And so with the way, I think we're quite fortunate that we have the town that operates the daycare itself. So they were the first people we went to, and in talking to them, they said they'll be open to do a prioritization arrangement where any students through these post-secondary partners would be given priority when it comes to just having their kids through daycare. And so we thought that could be something very important. And then when we looked through our data, surprisingly, actually I guess it's not that surprising, but so of all the students that have gone through through enrollment and through zero-fee tuition, I think all of them but 2 were female, right? So the majority of the people that are taking advantage of zero-fee tuition, large majority are young women, right? And so with young women, we know there's a lot of responsibilities, and so just having that daycare piece might be something that might help a lot of people that are interested. And so the next meeting we have with them, I believe, might be in February next year. So we'd approach their board and, bring forward that proposal to their board and see if this is something they'll be interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Councillor Hunter, go ahead.
With the original plan for the CETC with clean energy technology, where in that vision do you still see that fitting into, if at all, currently?
So through the chair to Councillor Henrik, that's a really great question. So I guess in the section where we talk about the CETC utilization, we basically were thinking that one of the strengths that the town and the county have done quite particularly well on is education. I think dating all the way back to 1982. With the few people I met here in Drayton Valley actually having graduated through, the campuses here in Drayton Valley, right? And so what we thought to do really, when it came to the education plan, at least within that CTC utilization, is we offered up 3 options to council. So the first option, as I went through, is just keeping things as it is right now, leaving the building as the Clean Energy Technology Center, living it as a multi-purpose space, and if something actualizes where we can get a clean energy company, or if there's a development that works well, then that's how it would work. And then with the second option, that's where we're looking at the education piece, and so making it an education hub. And with that education hub, we would look at rebranding the building. And so a suggestion that we had was renaming it to the Community Education and Training Center, which, funny enough, follows CETC as well. And just having that as a rebranding exercise, and just trying to prioritize education more. And so that's the second option that we offered up to council. And then the third one is removing education from the CETC, and within that plan, that's where we'd open up the CETC to any other ventures or ideas that council might have, whether it be an economic development push and a clean energy push, whatever it is, and just offering up that space, right, in the way that council makes sense. And so we laid out those 3 plans, or those 3 options, and within the implementation stage is where we would want to have council make a decision on which option they prefer best. And so right now, we don't have a definitive approach when it comes to the CETC. We just have those 3 options, and but once the implementation comes out, that's where we'd at least see what the timelines look like. That's where we'd see what the budget might look like, and it might be an easier decision once council knows what the implementation might look like. And so we'll for sure see what that looks like come 2025.
All right, good. So you left us with a lot to think about, and we'll certainly get together and discuss, what our role will be moving forward.
Absolutely.
So I thank you. We have no other further questions, so thank you for your time, and certainly wish you all the best of this holiday season.
Thank you. I wish you all the best as well.
Okay, looks like we're going to move into the Cynthia Area Structure Plan. Kathleen, come on ahead. If you would like to, yep.
Sure.
Go ahead, Councillor Westerland.
I'll move to receive the Town of Drayton Valley and Area Education Plan, Management Plan for information.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. All right, Kathleen, go ahead.
Good morning, Council. The first report up is a Cynthia Area Structure Amendment application that we received, and it starts on page 25 of the Council agenda. This is for Lot A, Block 8, Plan 1989 KS within Southeast 55010, west of the 5th Meridian, but is probably better known locally as the vacant Cynthia Community Hall. So that's the lot that we are looking at to give conceptual understanding or where it is on the land. And we have received an application to have this rezoned from institutional to Hamlet residential. However, that doesn't align with the area structure plan, which has it as institutional. So then they put forward an application to amend the area structure plan and the future use of the property from institutional to Hamlet residential. And the main reason is that the province has taken over the property when the society that owned and operated the hall dissolved. And the interest in the land has primarily, well, exclusively been residential. They haven't received any interest or applications or offers for an institutional type use, but they have received lots of interest and we've received lots of questions about whether it could be changed to residential, and then did actually receive an application. So this would allow then for a development permit if the whole process goes forward. So big picture here, if the whole process does go forward, it would allow for the potential new landowners to convert the property to a residential use that would align with the zone. This does have it's a larger lot with municipal services, and that's what our area structure plan talks about is the diversity of having different size lots within the hamlet of Cynthia and the attractiveness of preferring large lots with municipal services. The adjacent land is a water treatment plant across the road, the recreational area including the skating rink and playground owned by Brazeau County, and the remaining land around it is residential. So this would be the first step in a two-step process. So this is bylaw 119725. And if it was approved, it would be amending figure 4 within the area structure plan, which is the future land use concept. A picture of that is on page 32, so you could see what they're proposing. So you can see the light green kind of 2 and the big light green square, and it would be that yellow in between there. So majority of the land around it is within the area structure plan is scheduled or anticipated to be hamlet residential. And even in the land use bylaw, most of the land and the land actually around it is already hamlet residential. Typically, we would let you know when a public hearing had been arranged. However, this is at the writing of this report, the ongoing Canada Post strike had altered that. Our referral process requires us to mail letters out, and unfortunately, none of the other providers can deliver to a P.O. box. So as soon as the mail can be delivered, notice will be provided with the 30-day response time and scheduling the public hearing. So with the current news happening today, I believe we will be looking towards that first meeting in February to hold the public hearing between Christmas and knowing that there's a backlog. We're just going to do a little bit more investigation, but that is what we are anticipating. So we are recommending that council give first reading to bylaw 1197-25, proposing an amendment to figure 4 future land use concept within the Cynthia area structure plan.
Council, do you have any questions or comments for administration while they're here? Councilor Western, go ahead.
I was prepared to make a motion.
I think that's fair.
I move first reading to bylaw 1197-25, proposing an amendment to figure 4 future land use concept within the Cynthia area structure plan.
Any discussion? All those in favor? The motion's carried. Thank you. Carry on.
All right, if you want to continue along in your agenda to page 58. this lot will look very familiar. I am bringing forward a land use bylaw amendment, bylaw 1198-25, to rezone Lot A, Block 8, Plan 1989 KS within Southeast 5, 5010 west of the 5th Meridian from institutional to Hamlet residential. So this lot is the old vacant community hall within the hamlet of Cynthia. I won't repeat too much, but I do want to highlight, and it is underlined on page 58, the rezoning bylaw 1198-25 will only proceed if bylaw 1197-25 is approved. So the area structure plan amendment must be approved before rezoning can go forward, which is why it's in the council agenda this way and will continue to be presented that way. So again, it's basically an applicant has come forward. They are looking to rezone it in order to change the use from institutional to residential in order to apply for a development permit that fits under the residential use versus the institutional use. And the same comment with the Canada Post strike. So these will be referred out jointly so that hopefully it minimizes confusion. Of course, this is not in an intermunicipal development plan, but this rezoning is within the Cynthia Area Structure Plan. So recommendation from administration is that council give first reading to bylaw 1198-25, proposing Lot A, Block 8, Plan 1989 KS within Southeast 5, 50, 10 west of the 5th Meridian be rezoned from institutional district to Hamlet residential district.
All right, council, any questions or comments for administration? Councillor Gunderson, go ahead.
I move to give first reading to bylaw 1198-25, proposed Lot A, Block 8, Plan 1989 KS within Southeast 5 of 50 of 10 west of the 5th Meridian be rezoned from institutional district to Hamlet residential district.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Pardon me? Do you want to do one more, or do you want to take a 5-minute break?
Whichever.
Yeah, let's just carry on a little bit farther, just about 10 o'clock. We'll try to make it to the hour. Yeah, go ahead, Kathleen.
All right, I have one more to present to council today on page 72. We're staying in the hamlet of Cynthia. This one is bylaw 1195-24, and it's looking at rezoning 5 county-owned lots within the hamlet of Cynthia. So back in July, council gave direction to administration to consolidate 6 county-owned lots into 3 larger lots and then proceed with public tender. And those lots are listed there in the motion. I won't read them all out. We received notice that they were consolidated and officially registered and legally registered with land titles on November 21st. So that meant we had our 3 larger lots. Prior to proceeding with public tender, though, staff did decide that it would be best to move from the urban reserve district that it's zoned to Hamlet residential to ensure that the potential new future landowners were ready to develop, that they didn't have an extra step to do after that public tendering process. So we looked at all the lots, because there were 2 additional ones that council had requested that we move forward to public tender as well. And we would rezone all of them from urban reserve district, which is what they are in the current land use bylaw, to Hamlet residential. And all of these align with the future land use concept within the Hamlet of Cynthia Area Structure Plan. So you will see a couple sets of maps. The land location maps are on pages 75 and 76. So I've kind of designated them as the 3 along the row and the 2 in the crescent. So, because they're in just 2 slightly different sections of the hamlet. And then so these are the ones along the road. So these are the ones we consolidated. They were smaller lots. Those are the ones we consolidated in. And then on your screen now are the ones that are along the crescent. So all 5 would be rezoned from urban reserve to Hamlet residential. Once again, for public engagement, same note about the Canada Post strike and PO boxes. I won't repeat it for a 3rd time, but we will be getting those referrals out for that area so that we can continue to move this forward anticipating that we should be able to make that first meeting in February. So administration is bringing forward a recommendation that council give first reading to bylaw 1195-24, sorry, there's a typo there in the recommendation, proposing lots 22, 23, 24, block 4, plan 2422408 within southeast 5, 50, 10, west of the 5th meridian, and lots 11 and 12 of block 18, plan 1989 KS within southeast 5, 50, 10, west of the 5th meridian, be rezoned from urban reserve district to Hamlet residential district as shown in the attached schedules A and B. And those attached schedules A and B can be found on pages 80 and 81 of the council agenda. And we did also go through the relevant legislation, mainly looking to make sure it aligned with the municipal development plan and the area structure plan. And as noted, it does meet those requirements to have it rezoned to Hamlet residential. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, council, any questions or comments? And we're just looking for first reading. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Wilsey.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw 1195-24, proposing lots 22, 23, and 24, block 4, plan 2422408 within the southeast 5, 50, 10 west of the 5th meridian, and lots 11 and 12, block 18, plan 1989 KS within southeast 5, 50, 10 west of the 5th meridian, be rezoned from urban reserve district to Hamlet residential district as shown in attached schedules A and B.
That's good. All right, council, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Sorry.
Just on page 62, while she's still here. On page 62, I don't know, it's going to bug me now that I see it. It says Her Majesty the Queen in the right of Alberta. Shouldn't it be His Majesty the King, or does that matter?
So through the chair to Councillor Gunderson, that is actually an amazing question, and I do appreciate it. Oddly enough, they did sign a lot of things under His Majesty.
I dropped it, the screen fell off, and I was like, oh, so I put the screen back down, and it doesn't work. It still makes sound. I know when I'm doing this.
All right, looks like we're moving into Part 9A, Agricultural Services of our agenda package this morning. I'll turn the podium over to administration. Oh, not till 11 o'clock. So, and I'll turn it over to Donnie McCann for the appointment of our agricultural fieldman. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Deputy Reeve and Council. On
Good
page
morning.
88, you will find our request for a decision on the appointment of agricultural fieldmen. As I believe most of you know, I will be taking leave coming up in January. So we have brought on Liz Suter-Roselle as the Manager of Agricultural Services in the interim. And in order to meet our requirements of the Agricultural Service Board, we are required to have an appointed agricultural fieldman. So administration is coming to request that council move to appoint Liz Suter-Roselle as the county's agricultural fieldman. There is also a bio, just for your information, on page 90 of Liz.
A very short bio. All right, well, it's our privilege to have you back working for Brazeau County in this way, so yeah, absolutely. I got a couple of mics lit up. Anthony, yours is first. You have any questions, or are you ready?
Okay, I was
For
going to make a
motion?
motion.
Councillor Westerland? And Councillor Brooks? Okay, go ahead, ask that question, sir.
All right, dumb question. It says on H1, under Ag Fieldman, it says, if a council has established a board, and I'm just going to end there. Council hasn't established. I'm not saying we don't do this. I'm just saying haven't established a board. There's no
Okay.
bylaw.
Certainly appreciate those comments, sir. Counselor Heinrich, go ahead if you have a motion. Is in order.
I move to appoint Liz Suter-Roselle as Brazeau County's agricultural fieldman as per the requirements of the Agricultural Service Board Act.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10, Community Services. There are no reports. Item 11A of our agenda package, Finance, 2025 Schedule of Fees. Mr. Swap, go right ahead.
Good morning, Council. As mentioned on page 91 of your agenda, there is bylaw 1193-24, known as the 2025 Schedule of Fees. The recommended action from administration is that Council give all required readings to bylaw 1193-24. As mentioned, the 2025 Schedule of Fees. The Schedule of Fees can be found on page 94 to 110 of your agenda, and the bylaw itself is on page 93. This year, administration is bringing 3 changes to the Schedule of Fees. I will highlight them here, and we can go to the page if you would like for further explanation. The first item is Agricultural Services is requesting changes that will provide more clarity for members of the public related to soil, feed, and seed testing. And this is on page 107. Corporate Services is also requesting a slight increase to the cost of folding maps available for sale to the public. The maps are currently $10, and the price has been static for about 10 years here. And as we're seeing the printing costs increase, Corporate Services requesting a small increase of $2.50 to $12.50 for the folding map. And lastly, Community Services is planning to operate the Lodgepole Campground with 10 individual sites as opposed to a group campground for 2025. This requires a site fee to be established. Community Service is proposing a charge of $35 a night, and this can be found on page 108 of your agenda. Again, the recommended action is that Council give all required readings to bylaw 1193-24, the 2025 Schedule of Fees.
All right, thank you, Colin. Council, do you have any questions or comments in regard to the Schedule of Fees? Councillor Brooks, go ahead.
Yeah, so page 95, I was wondering if council would be interested in, under number 3, to have a nominal fee for 3A. The only reason I say this is because, you know, I've heard that some people will come in, they have, you know, essentially they have the right to make 3 subdivisions in their quarter section. They come in and they do that, and that's fine. And then they come back and they want to change it around a little bit, so they change the borders, kind of re-subdivide, and they keep doing it. And it's not that I'm looking to recover costs. It's just like I want to have like if it's a $25 or a $50 fee, and then they, you know, then people think, okay, that I want to do it right the first time, and so that's just what I was thinking. I'm not sure if anybody's interested in that, but I guess we'll see what happens.
All right, see what happens. Councillor Westland, go ahead.
Mine's a completely different item.
I think that's fine.
Okay. On page 109 in the agenda, page 16, I believe, of the, just a numbering issue. If you notice in red, it says 5, and then below it says 5. You just have to change the number there. That was all.
Okay, where are you?
Page
oh,
109.
I see, 055.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just have 2 5s.
Okay, just a technical
Yeah, that's all.
glitch.
I'm not usually that person, but I seen it today.
No, thank you very much.
All right, any other comments or questions? Councillor Heinrich, go ahead.
Cody, are you, based on what you've said, are you proposing something like by way of a motion, or, you know,
Yeah, it has to be motion.
that's the way it sort of gets moving forward?
Yeah, so that, I don't know, if I was gonna throw a number out there, I'd say like $25 or $50 or something like that. It's not, you know, we're not recouping costs on that. It's just, you know, try to do it right the first time and then don't get the fee the second time, you know what I mean? Although it could also be that, you know, the first time you do it, you know, that's at no cost, but if you wanna, you know, remake your boundaries, that might be a, you know, there might be a nominal fee there. So I don't know, anybody, does anybody care?
I care a lot. Any other comments? Counselor Heinert?
I think you should come though with a number like your mind. If you have a
$50,
number,
that's my number.
say $25 like you'd said or whatever. And then, you know, for the first parcel, if you're gonna say that one's exempt, but then after that, $25 for every other parcel.
Yeah, not necessarily first parcel, but first, you know, if you subdivide your maximum number off, and then you know, you wanna come back and change the borders because it wasn't quite, it's not quite what you were thinking, or it doesn't quite suit what you had, what you thought of initially, that's kinda what I'm talking about, so maybe, I don't know how to put that in there. So we have unplanned rural subdivision, 1 to 3 parcels plus the remainder in quarter section. It might be like a 3A, that there's a fee for you know, reworking the subdivisions, if that makes sense. The look on your face, Colin, tells me you have
Well,
no idea what it's like.
No, I'm just curious, are you looking, say, kind of a revised version of an approved
Mhm.
subdivision plan? Like
Mhm.
like you mentioned, then you
A
got
revised
that
plan,
first
yeah.
one. And then kind of your first revision to the approved plan is where you would incur the monetary charge there of $25, if that's what council's wishes were.
Yeah, so, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking. If I do that, you guys, I don't know, I guess I could ask you how you feel about it, but we could just vote on it. Yeah, all right.
All right, so if I could just interrupt
Yeah,
just
go
a
ahead.
moment. Okay, so my only concern is that the wording be very clear, and I would prefer if you discuss this a little bit with administration prior to bringing the motion, so that it's very clear with them as well. We can bump this back a little bit in today's agenda, if you want to do that, unless you have that prepared.
No, yeah, we can table this until later.
Okay, are you comfortable with that, Colin?
Yes, yeah, no, through the chair to Council Brooks and Councilor Ekstrom. Certainly, as previous, the schedule of fees, if it is not approved by the end of the year, then the 2024 schedule of fees will roll over into 2025. So that's kind of the order of events there. If it isn't approved in time by the end of the year, the 2024 schedule will roll forward until we approve the actual 2025 bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Colin, I appreciate that. Is there any other discussion? Because the mic is still on, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just move to table, if that's what we would.
Okay, so just before we do that, I just want to ask if there are any other changes.
Doesn't look like
And
it. Okay.
hearing none, seeing none? Go ahead.
So I move to table 11A finance until after lunch. Pardon? We won't be here that long? Oh, next meeting. Next meeting? What do you mean, sorry? Pardon? Sorry? Sorry,
I think if it's okay with Colin, would you have a moment this morning where you could we'll take a break at maybe right after public input, and maybe you could just meet with Councilor Brooks, and we'll
Sure.
get some clarification, go from there, if that's all right. So, if that's okay, go ahead. So the motion is just till later in the meeting,
yep, sure.
okay?
That's what I said.
All right. I think that's okay. Are there any questions? Comments or concerns? Okay, no discussion? Okay, there's always space for discussion on clarification of a motion. So, we'll vote on the main motion, and that is to table. All those in favor? That is carried. All right, thank you. Okay, moving to general matters. Item 12A, library report, Councilor Gunderson, pages 111 and forward.
Yeah, I had given a verbal update at the last meeting. This is just the written report for everybody's information. What I forgot to mention was that we had a visit from our CEO and Director of Community Services, Lee Chambers, and it was really appreciated by the board afterwards. I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Absolutely. Go ahead, Councillor Wiltie.
I would just like to commend the library board on going forward this year. You guys have done an amazing job, so thank you. It was a mess.
Yes, we all know how important our libraries are to us. That needs to be running well. Councillor Heinrich.
I move to receive the library report for information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Is carried. Okay, moving into our next agenda item, 12B, criminal record. Turn that over to administration. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
You will remember that 2 weeks ago I was here and giving some updates on the 2025 municipal election. At that time, Council had directed that we move forward with creating a bylaw to require a criminal record check of candidates to be submitted with their nomination packages. Bylaw 119624 is attached to your report. The bylaw itself is on 116 of your agenda. Today, I will just be asking you for all 3 readings of that bylaw. As discussed last time, there was no direction on the time frame. A time frame of 60 days was generally discussed, so that is the time frame that I put in the bylaw. That would mean that when someone submitted their candidate package, whenever that was during the campaign period, the criminal record check they present with their nomination papers would simply have to be valid within the 60 days prior to that date. If council has any other questions, I am happy to clarify. Other than that, the items in the bylaw are fairly straightforward. Just make sure to let candidates know they need to be attending the RCMP detachment within their jurisdiction. So for portions of Division 5 and 6, that would be the Breton RCMP detachment. For all other divisions, that would be the Drayton Valley RCMP detachment. And then just the standard things about cost. If there is any cost, which there in most cases will not be, but in the event that there is a cost, that cost would be the candidate's responsibility or the prospective candidate's responsibility. And that when those are submitted, they will become public record. The public will be able to view those criminal record checks. However, we will be redacting personal information such as addresses or anything else that the returning officer feels might be a safety concern for that individual. So if there are any questions, I will take those. If not, I am requesting that we do all 3 readings of this bylaw today.
Okay, so Courtney, if somebody needs to access this information request to, will it be through FOIP or not?
No, so under the Act, we have to make this available similar to the nomination packages. So it will be the same way that we've done it in the past. I will have a binder that's at the front that will have all of the nomination packages in it. A member of the public can come in and request to see that. They're not allowed to take it off the premises, and they're not allowed to take photographs of it, but they're allowed to come in and view it. This year, in a change to the legislation, both the nomination papers, Form 4 and Form 5, as well as the criminal record check, if this bylaw passes, will be redacted for that personal information in terms of address. In previous elections, none of that has been redacted. So that's just an update they've made to the legislation to protect individuals' privacy as well as their safety.
Fair enough. Okay, are there any questions or comments before we have any motions? Councillor Westerland, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, I got quite a few questions, and it's just more for clarification, and I think it needs to be clarified. So question number 1, who's going to hold on to the information? So you've kind of answered that. It obviously will stay in this office, but we don't have a returning officer forever and always. So who will be in care and control of the information once the returning officer is done?
So the information will be in the care and control of corporate services. Corporate services is the basically custodian of that election information. We have to, by legislation, already retain all of the nomination papers for the full term that council serves. So those papers are held within corporate services. So right now it is myself. If I wasn't here, then it would be whoever would be filling
in that
that
role.
position.
Okay, and you kind of answered my second question, is how long do we hold onto that type of information?
Yes, so that goes
Okay.
for the full term that, that the counselor is in office.
Okay, and then the other question I have is, now obviously, when somebody comes in to view this information, not an issue, but the issue is, does the candidate get notified? I think they should be, and they should be allowed to know who's requested that information. So that's just for council. I'll leave administration out of this part, this is to council. I think you have every right to know who's viewing your papers.
But it's not in the act.
Just like they have every right to come view your information, I believe you have a right to know who's asking to see yours.
Yeah, it's not included in the act anywhere. Can we enforce that in any way, shape, or form?
I'm not clear on that. If council wishes me to look into that, I will have to pose that question to municipal affairs to see if that's something that we can enact on their own, or if that's something that is covered under something in the legislation. But if council wishes, I can certainly reach out to municipal affairs.
Should have turned my mic off.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it's fair. If you've asked to see, I think you should be able to know who's asked. So just in the past, I've asked who's requested to see information, and I've been told verbally, no formal notification. But I've asked that question before and I've been told verbally who's come in to
Well, I would handle that if council, if we speak to municipal affairs, and that's permissible under council's direction, and if council does make that direction,
Okay.
what I would probably do is I would just do a basic log.
Yeah, me too. That's, I'm not asking for anything fancy. I think it's just, it's notification to the individual who's asked to see.
Councilor Heiner, go ahead.
So if we're going to get that clarification, then we need to delay this? Is that correct?
No, I don't think so. Because it's just information that we're after.
Okay. And the other question I have then, maybe I misunderstood what you were saying, but a criminal check has to be within 6 months, right?
Sorry, 6 months, yes, sorry, I believe I said 60 days,
Yeah,
my
that's what I
apologies. 6 months.
Yeah, 'cause
6
that's
months
what I
is what we
thought I
have in
read
there.
here.
Sorry about that, yes. 6
Okay,
months
thank
is
you.
what we had. Just let me double check that that's what.
Oh, the election date, like,
Yes, sorry, 6 months is what I meant to say, I misspoke.
Yeah, so that information will be provided clearly to the applicant of the package for running for candidacy. And the last time I had a criminal record check, it took 9 days, 7 working days is what I had to get through the weekend. So if there's a backlog, I would get on that as quickly as possible in case there's any kind of a delay.
And the benefit is that the campaign period runs from the beginning of the year until September 22nd. So there is a long period of which prospective candidates can submit their papers. I've already, in anticipation of this coming to council, started to craft some information that will be in the candidate packages that are prepared. We will have that advertising on our elections website online. We'll have items in the Brazeau County News on it, and at this point, I am requesting that prospective candidates give me a call before they bring their paperwork in, just so that I can make sure that I can go over the requirements with them. So also, I'll make a note, as of right now, Municipal Affairs has not provided any updated candidate nomination forms. They are not sure what that timeline is, which is a bit of a challenge since we're technically supposed to be starting to accept nominations on January 2nd, but we're waiting on their updated forms. So once those updated forms are there, then we shall be good to go, but that's another reason why I'm asking prospective candidates to give me a call prior to coming in, so that we can make sure that we've got everything done properly.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that, Courtney. Councilor Heiner, go ahead.
yeah, from what you had told us last meeting, I believe you were saying that we need to, if we're intending to run, we need to submit a letter to you indicating our intention to run first, before we go enacting any costs, whether that's contributions or costs?
Correct. So if, for instance, a candidate didn't wish to submit their formal nomination papers until later in the summer or the fall, but they wanted to begin incurring expenses or accepting donations, they are required to submit a letter of intent, it's called, to the returning officer. It has to be written just saying the name, I think they're in the act, I believe there is a list of things that it needs to include, but basically it's the prospective candidate's name that they intend to run, as well as the information about the financial institution where the bank account that they will be putting any of those expenses or donations and expensing those expenses out of is.
Okay. I think that got my question.
All right. If there's no other discussion or questions, the motion is in order. Councillor Gunnarsson, go ahead.
I move to give first reading to bylaw 1196-24 that will require all prospective candidates for the 2025 municipal election to submit a criminal record check with their nomination papers.
Any discussion? Councillor Brooks, go ahead.
So when this first came to us during our last meeting, I was kind of like totally neutral. I didn't really care, and I might still be that way. The only concern I have is, and I'm not talking about myself, but you know, let's say, you know, somebody's 18 or 20 or whatever, 40 years ago, and you know, they were, you know, they're involved in something, you know, whether it was whether they were really at fault or not. My concern is that sorry, I'm going to use my words here.
That's fine.
My concern is that it's going to cause some amount of scandal for some people who otherwise really could get a pardon but just haven't done so. I know of one example of somebody, they don't live in our municipality, but you know, when they were like 20 years old, you know, somebody stole some tires and threw them in the back of his vehicle, and you know, he got charged with possession of stolen property. So while he didn't, he could get a pardon. It's not a big deal. But my concern is that you know, somebody pulls that and then, you know, takes that information and makes it public. So that might not really be an issue, but it was a concern I had. So I'm not opposed to doing first reading, but I just thought it was something to think about.
So you believe in second chances?
Well, sure. I mean, this particular individual is never going to run for council. And,
They're very generous.
They're even if they did, they could get a pardon if they really wanted to. But yeah, I don't know. That was something that went through my head the other day, and yeah, I don't know if it's a major concern, but it was just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, so Courtney, do you know how far back the RCMP will go? Will they go back 10 years, 4 years, 2 years?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
I don't know that
Yeah,
either.
I'm not that familiar with the process. I've never had one, I've never done one, and yeah, I'm just not sure whether, I believe it is your entire history for things that aren't sealed under, like the Youth Criminal Justice Act, but I couldn't say that with any authority. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, my only concern in this area is that in this day and age, I would suggest that you protect your personal information with everything you have, because we know what it's like out there, and it's not a very pretty place. Good, bad, or ugly. Councillor Westerland, or Councillor Heinrich, go ahead.
So Dallas, you've done a criminal check, I think you were saying.
Many.
So I haven't, so I'm going to ask just a question, just what's listed on there then? If an incident was occurred like what Cody is just saying, would it list 2020, person did X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, you know what? I've got nothing on my record, so I wouldn't know. But I would assume that's what it looks like. I don't know. I've only ever seen mine, and when we work in a church or whatever, we protect that information. Nobody sees that information. It is just for administrative use only, and nobody else gets access to that information. Because I too believe in second chances.
Rudy or Courtney, do you know how, you know, to see one, how it's listed, or, you know, if there's anything listed?
No, I'm sorry, I don't know what form they come in. I would assume it comes as a printout with date, like criminal, like conviction. I would assume it would be by date, but again, I've never had one done or been convicted of a crime, so.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm just asking, because I'm encountered it, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah, good question, I don't know. Donna, go ahead.
Thank you for bringing that up, Cody. That's, might have grew a pot plant or something. Now it's legal, but that's on your record. And I'm assuming that the public would only see that there is a criminal offense and not know what it is. Or is this going to be open to everybody of what that offense is? I know my husband has to get criminal offenses criminal checks every 2 years, but he's never had a crime, so.
I believe it will list the crime for which you were.
So then are we going to show that to the public? I guess that's what this is about,
Yes.
right?
That's what it's about.
I think that changes I don't know. This is really, really important to. Carol?
Councillor Westland, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's a discussion for council, so I'll leave him in out of that, and it's kind of council to council. People have a right to know who sits in the seat, and we are held to a higher account and standard, but at the same time, if you've got a criminal offense from 20 years ago, and obviously no charges since, I think, the average person can figure it out, right? And if it's a simple possession charge from 30 years ago, I mean, you could probably do the math. That, or it is a small town, people already know. So there's two things of this, and I think that Reeve said at the last meeting, either it's gonna squash, it's more than likely gonna just squash the rumor mill too as well. Because there's always rumors out there of something, right? And it also squashes, but I don't know. I come from maybe I'm a little bit more diplomatic when I look at it, and if I see a charge from 30 years ago and nothing since, I don't really care. But the public has a right to know if they're electing somebody that's been charged with possession of child pornography. That, and I don't care if that's from 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago. The public has a right to know, and right now they don't. Yeah, and that's where I think Cody did make a comment offline, and I think it's worth saying, the good might outweigh the bad, but that's the type of comments, and this is the type of time, like the conversation about why this may or may not be included, but it's those type of offenses and those type of charges that I think the public has a right to know when they're electing somebody to this office.
Agree with that type of offense and others, other types of offense, but some people can't look at something and say, oh, out of proportion, like people are just dying to dig up dirt on people. So I don't know I agree with you, but I agree with Cody.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah, and it's hard, I'm the youngest on council, and I mean, thank God there were cell phones when I was in high school and school, but they were, I guess, no, I'm not the youngest, Cody is, but, right, like there's social media, that side of stuff, that's still there anyways. And actually, in a way, this would squash some of that too as well. So I agree with Cody, sorry, Cody, you're not 40. But you gotta look at it and weigh the good with the bad with it. So, I think the public, I think they've got good heads on their shoulders and they understand. And if they don't, they'll ask. So, I have no problem. But sorry, Anthony, I've also done criminal record checks, numerous, it's easy, it's painless. As long as you got your ID and everything matches, like I think somebody said, it should take 7 to 14 days. I don't know with the postal strike now, if that affects it, but it's not. And I've also done the extensive one too, where you have to go in and you're interviewed, and I paid $200 for that one, and that's the fingerprints, and that's a really in-depth one, and even that was painless.
All right, well, we have motion for first reading. Councillor Gunderson, go ahead.
I'm just following up. So yeah, I've had the criminal record check too, and my name has been flagged for some reason, so I have to go through a more thorough. It's not just as simple sometimes as what you think it would be, but it involves fingerprinting and a bit of skepticism as to who you are. But I still think it's a good, the province wants us to do this, and most counties and towns are aligning themselves with this. So we'll see what happens with it, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of clarity on who you're dealing with.
All right, we have motion for first reading. Are you guys ready to vote? Any other discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor Westerland, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just looking up for the motion. There we go. And just on that, I don't think I want to get on my soapbox today, but I feel like that. It's an honor to sit here and to be able to run for these positions. So I think we are held to a little bit different standard, whether we like to admit it to or not, but we are. And I expect that too out of elected officials. So we're here representing the communities and we're showing leadership in our communities. So I think it is, we are, whether we like it or not, we're held to a different standard. I move second reading to bylaw 1196-24.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Councillor Brooks, you're up first. Go ahead.
I move to go to third reading for bylaw 1196-24.
Okay, this motion needs to be unanimous in order for us to proceed. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Heinrich, your light's on. Go ahead.
I move to give third reading to bylaw 1196-24.
Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? It is carried unanimously. Thank you, Courtney. Same to you. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, item 12C of the agenda package, 2025 Assessment Review Board Training. I'll turn that over to Mr. Swap. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, as mentioned on page 19 of the agenda, there is an update report to council just in regards to some assessment review board training dates for the 2025 year. The Land and Property Rights Tribunal has released its 2025 training dates for assessment review board members. Currently, all of council is appointed to the Local Assessment Review Board and Composite Assessment Review Board with the stipulation that one councillor will be appointed at the time a hearing is scheduled. However, no one is able to sit on the ARB board without the required training. Training is offered virtually for 5.5 days. Currently, we have two members of council, being Reeve Guion and Councillor Westerland, is having training that expires in June of 2025, so they would be eligible to take the member refresher training. All other members of council would need to take the new member training, and any member of council who wishes to be eligible to sit on the ARB hearing must take the training listed on in the days listed on the bottom of page 119 of your agenda. The morning sessions run from 9 to 12 p.m., and the Land and Property Rights Tribunal generally requests that each member taking the training be on their own computer to allow for participation during the training. So this is being brought to council's attention just for their information, and if council would like to schedule any of the dates there for some new member or refresher training where applicable there, administration can help them do so. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, Councillor Brooks, looks like you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just, I was under the impression that I thought I had done the training, and I thought I did it with Donna and Anthony, and I thought that was last year. So is ours no longer good, or
We can
is that maybe a mistake? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll maybe just ask Ms. Whalen to come
Yeah,
up here.
it was a few days.
Sorry, Council, so I was going off of the certificates that I have copies of. So if councillors have taken that training more recently and have their certificates, if you could just forward it to me. The training is good for 3 years. So if you have a certificate at home that is from, 2022, if it's from 2022, it'll expire in probably June of 2025, so then you would need to take the refresher. If it's after 2022, then it would still be valid. So if you do have certificates that are from more recent, then just let me know, because those ones that took training previously in 2022 would just need to take the refresher training. Anybody that took training before that and didn't renew it would have to take the new member training.
Yeah, I will scour my email. I'm sure I thought I did it last year, so.
Yeah, and my apologies if you did and I just
That might be my
don't
bad.
have a copy of that certificate.
Okay.
If you can find it, just forward it to Tina and she can forward it to
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
Okay, Kara, go ahead.
The only question is, do we need a motion from council to approve council to take the training and to take the refresher? Or is that covered already?
Yes, through the chair of council. I don't believe so, that we would have that under your
Okay.
training that's already
Okay,
allotted
and then who do
through
you want us to
operating
go
budget.
through because I am going to do my member refresher. I'm going to take the February 19th one, because the only dates that work for me.
If council wants to, they can either email me directly, or if it's easier to coordinate through Tina, you can
No
let
problem.
Tina know, and
You're
and
okay?
between her and I.
You
we can-
answered my question. I'll send you a message. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, I know, I took some of the courses there, and one of them I think might have been with Subdivision Development Appeal Board, when I was on that board because we had to take training. But I also thought I took this one, but I'll have to check my records, because I thought Cody's right, that three of us had taken it together, and we were comparing scores even at that time.
Withhold the results of those scores? Yeah.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Anthony.
To Colin or to whoever, would, if some of us believe we may have taken it but can't find that course, is there let's say, a place like which issued the course originally, would they have a record of us having taken it when and that kind of a thing?
Yeah, through the chair to Councilor Henry. If you are unable to find that, certainly let myself know, or Courtney know as well too, and we can follow up with the approving body there and see if they have a record on their side with some dates, and maybe we can verify it that way. But if you don't mind looking through your email chain there first, and then let us know, and we can do some digging on our side there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Colin. You guys want a motion on that, or are we just going to roll ahead? Anthony, go ahead.
So I think we just need to receive it for information, then, don't we? I move to receive the 2025 Assessment Review Board training dates for information.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. All right, item 12D. Councillor Westerland, you've asked for this to be on the agenda package. So if you would care to speak into it, go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm not sure. Oh, Kathleen is here. I did give her a wee bit of a heads up on this. So just more for council's information, and then just an update with the Taverner Pit. Obviously, we're all familiar around the table with the constant concerns and complaints that we're getting from that gravel pit. They continue. I'm getting calls, Anthony, I don't know if you are, but I guess I'm just looking for an update. We did have members from the public attend, and then just kind of looking for the follow-up and the steps moving forward, so.
Yeah, so I do have a bit of an update. We were able to get a hold of the pit manager, and he let us know the pit has been shut down for the winter. So we requested a community peace officer to head out there. There is still hauling activity happening, and a community peace officer had been out to monitor trucks, because we have been having some issues with the hauling trucks. But they attended, I apologize, I'm not sure if it was Thursday or Friday of last week, and the gate was closed. That particular officer got out to see if there was any noise that could be heard from the gate, and there wasn't any. So it is on the radar of our community peace officers to continue to go down there just to see what's going on, see if it's one of the times where it is hauling, so they can go in and make sure that the pumps, the generators, and that type of equipment has been shut down. And then we will be looking to meet with Taverner on site, probably sometime in February, maybe early March, depending on how the weather is, before they start up operations. They said they won't be starting them up until spring, so probably May of 2025. So that's kind of the update I have on what's happening and what we've been able to achieve so far.
All right, any direction or action here? If not, we can move on. Councillor Westerland, go ahead.
I move to receive the Taverner gravel pit update for information.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, item 13 of our agenda package, we have no correspondence, so we'll move into council reports. Any comments, additions, or deletions? If there are none, we can move to adopt. Anthony,
I move to receive the council reports for information as presented.
any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. All right. Okay, item 15, meeting dates. Ratification for Reeve to attend DLA Piper function December 4th, 2024. Any direction here from council? Ratification is a request. Any comments or questions? Obviously, the Reeve isn't here to answer them, so Anthony, go ahead.
Would this have been sort of their holidays premier type event that they would have invited us to? That this was
I don't
attended?
know. I don't know. December the 4th. I don't think so. I think their function is coming up. Their Christmas function, but I'm not sure.
Through the chair, the Reeve asked me to put this on the agenda. It was a client appreciation night that he attended.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I didn't know what terminology they're using for it. But if it's basically their client appreciation, I don't feel that we should be remunerated for attending those types of things.
Okay, any other comments? If there are none. Anthony, go ahead.
I move to receive the ratification for the Reeves attendance for information.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Councillor Gunderson and Councillor Wiltsey. Motion's carried. Moving right on, item 15B, reschedule January 21st, because we have a ASB conference there that in conflict with. So 13th, 16th, or 17th, any of those three dates work for council, or are there other options that you'd like to present? Glenn, go ahead.
Yeah, the library does have a meeting on the 16th, and that's when we're getting that consultant, Margaret Law, to come. So I would prefer if we could do it on the 13th or the 17th.
Okay. I'm good with both. Any direction? Yep, okay. What direction would you like to go, council? Councillor Wiltsey, go ahead.
I move that we reschedule council meeting to Monday, the 13th of January.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, well, I think we can probably do ratification for item 15C. That was as a webinar put on by the RMA. So Councillor Wiltsey, do you want to tell us a little bit about that, and then we can move ahead with it?
I'm sorry, I was in my calendar. What am I supposed to be
Oh, item 15C, water availability, ratification of, I guess it was a
Oh,
online meeting.
there was an RMA Zoom meeting about water availability in the province, and it's just something that I want to know about, so.
Any highlights?
Probably written on in my binder at home. You got any highlights? I know Kara was on there.
Yeah, I was on there. I was representing Army. So it was pretty high level. I believe there's going to be regulation changes coming to water licenses and what that picture's going to look like. So this was I think this was kind of the initial meeting. I appreciated the format. Generally, when the province does things like this, they come and tell us what's already been decided, or you get that feeling anyways. This one was not at all like that. The structure of this was very open. They wanted to hear from people. We heard from lots of different fracking, the use of fresh water, and fracking was brought up. Yeah, so I see I'll talk and we'll spark, so you can piggyback on me. Another conversation is, I know it doesn't affect us directly, but you should be aware of it. The Site C Dam in BC is having drastic effects on northern Alberta right now because they're trying to fill that dam site up. And the rivers up there have never been as low as they have been, and it's being directly attributed. Not only are they in a drought, but the other attribution to that is the filling of that Site C Dam. So the municipalities up there felt that they weren't consulted on properly, nor should they have allowed the flow rates up there to go as low as they did this summer, on top of being in a drought, that they allowed that to happen. So just the kind of the domino effects, it gives us a little bit greater picture of what goes on in other municipalities, so, and some of the struggles there. So, but the big one, there was a conversation about cessation of fresh water for fracking and the amount of that's happening. So those conversations are happening. But I think it sparked something with Donna.
There was also a lady from the Peace Country, I believe, that told us that they are using recycled sewer water for dust control. So I was thrilled with that. No, I think it's, when you see the water that comes out of the Cynthia plant, like you would have no problem using that for dust control. Anyways, yes, until somebody sparks something, my brain is like, sorry.
Anthony?
This is the Kara, probably from where you were at, listening to that meeting, did they speak at all about anything to deal with changes to registration of water rights?
No, off the top of my head, there was not. No, not in that depth, not with registration of water rates, no.
Donna, go ahead.
They did talk about, you know, some companies have had water rights for 50 years and haven't used them. So I don't know if they didn't say if they were looking into that to bring that to the forefront and maybe do something with those. Like,
But that would be more on the license,
yes.
because what I'm talking about, the registration is what most landowners were required to do quite a few years back to register their water use. And so I was wondering if they've come up with any altercations to that. That's all I was curious about, because I think some of the licenses that they've issued to oil companies and that haven't been used because they were, in my opinion, severely over-provided for. That's why they've got, many of the oil companies have the statements that they can say we aren't using our allotment. And I think that needs to be reviewed by the province because they've given out more than they should have in the beginning at some of those companies.
Kara, go ahead.
Well, and the other issue too is who's actually monitoring this and who's measuring how much water they're actually pulling. So it was interesting. I mean, for instance, just south of us in Ponoka County, for instance, this summer, you had an oil field company pulling out of the Blind Man River, nearly ran it dry because the monitoring stations were upstream. So it goes back to that whole enforcement and who's actually, you know, once the licenses are doled out or the water's being pulled, who's actually watching what's actually going on, and because it's actually self-reporting right now. So there was a little bit of a conversation about that. But how about, this is probably the first conversation of a few. I do my best to send all of council when these type of webinars are happening. I believe I sent this one out, that's how Donna got it, so I'll just maybe try and flag it with you, Anthony, the next time they come in. But I do send this stuff, and if you get your contact newsletters on Friday from RMA, this stuff's always in there. And the webinars coming up are always posted in there too as well, so.
Okay, so Councillor Wiltsey is asking for ratification. Motion is in order. Councillor Gunnarsson, go ahead.
I move to ratify Councillor Wiltsey's attendance to the webinar for RMA's water discussion
December the 11th.
on December the 11th, 2024.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, well, it's 11 o'clock and we'll move into our public input session. And so the floor is open. I would first like to ask if there's anyone calling in today. Is there anyone calling in? Anybody go-to that's wanting to join us? Not that we're aware of. Okay, thank you. Is anybody from the gallery wishing to speak to council today in any matter? The floor is open. Hearing none, seeing none. Oh, Alan. Are you heading this way? Good morning.
And the water taken out. I was at that meeting east of Hoadley, the Blind Man River Association. They're concerned when the river isn't flowing, why are they taking water out of it? Where's the reservoir coming from? And you mean, it took them guys a long time to get their answers from the government people. I know that for a fact because they sent me all the emails. I belong to that group. My other concern here today is we talk about rules and when we're going to do criminal checks and everything else. My concern is FOIP. Was this for 3 years. And under the FOIP Act, it states no elected officials, which means all you guys, councillors and Reeve, are to know or have anything to do with FOIP. I've asked that question several times. I've got the answer from your FOIP coordinator. I've got it from municipal affairs advisors. That is the ruling. But as of, I know you guys all got this letter December 6th. I was the applicant over inquiry 02895 order. I have every right to receive this letter because it was applicant. And in here it says a copy of the order, the registrar of inquiries. She told me it went directly to the CEO. And that afternoon, all you guys received the email. So this does not mean anything. No elected officials are to be involved in this podium. Why? My rules, and I've talked to municipal affairs several times on this. And when I brought this up to the Register of Inquiries, Karen, and told her what happened, there was hesitation. This is only supposed to be to the CEO, the FOIP coordinator, and the assistant. The CAO and the assistant to the CEO. So now all of a sudden this information's got out to all of you, and I want to know why. Why did this happen, Mr. CEO? What are the reasons?
So I'll answer that question. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for your comments. I do appreciate that.
I wanted an answer why.
Okay, I can appreciate your concern. However, this matters potentially before the courts, and we will decline any comment at this time. I'm sorry.
Well, that's not very good reasoning, Mr. Reeve, Deputy Reeve.
It's going to be for today.
Well, I don't think that's right.
I appreciate your opinion.
It says, what is the meaning of dissemination of order? Can you give me that meaning?
I cannot discuss this.
I said, can you give me the meaning?
I'm sorry, sir.
So why is it enclosed when no elected officials are supposed to even be involved, is my question.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Well, it's a very good question, but you guys don't have a very good answer.
But Mr. Taylor, I'm afraid that I must decline your request because this is potentially before the courts. I cannot answer your question. I will not.
It's not in the courts yet, I'm afraid.
It potentially will be.
Potentially, but it isn't there yet.
Okay. Thank you.
No. I want a reason.
Alan, that's all I have. I can't give you any more. You know that.
What do you mean you know that? I'll phone the registers again. They're not too happy with what you guys did. I've dealt with this privacy commissioner for 3 years now. I've dealt with different people in Calgary and Edmonton, and they've been very helpful. I've learned a lot through this process, which you guys don't even have a clue went on. I mean, I think the thing is here, you guys are hiding something and don't want to disclose it. You guys should be ashamed of that. I mean, it's pretty bad when you got 3 councillors on the Ag Board that swear under oath and don't even know what's involved in this process of of paying out applicants for weed spraying. And I also know if I wouldn't have fought this, you guys wouldn't even known what was going on to this day. And when I said to one councilor, he said, well, we got to vote on this. I said, how can you vote on something you don't even know? Why isn't this be released? Especially these guys are sworn under oath. Why don't they have the information? That's what I want to know. It's quite obvious you don't know much because you don't know the meaning of dissemination of order. You guys are just pulling the tactic here just to get out of it somehow, but it's not happening. I'm sorry. We'll release this to press so fast that you make your guys' heads spin. Don't laugh about it. It can happen.
I'm not laughing, Alan. I
Yeah,
thank
you are.
And you're entitled to your opinion and
Yeah,
your
but
comments.
you're laughing. Don't laugh about it. It
I'm
can
not
happen.
laughing.
You were.
I am not laughing, sir.
You were so.
You
Don't
are
be nice.
entitled to your opinion and your comments. I will not be in the way of having anything that you have to say, but we're not going to make comment on it.
So why can't you answer this? Even the CEO can't answer. What's going on here? I phoned him a week ago and asked him a question. He never replied me. What's the secret about all this crap? Don't want to tell anybody what's going on.
Alan,
This is shameful for all you councillors working for the people out there.
Alan, when matters come to the courts or potentially come to the courts, we have to be very careful, okay? You know that. So it's a difficult space to be in, I admit that. But I cannot make any comment on I cannot
So
answer
why
any
is
of your
it going to
questions.
court? When it goes to court, the adjudicator looks after this. It's not involved with me. You'll be dealing with him. And I'm sure you all read the letter, which you shouldn't even had. He slammed you so hard it wasn't funny. You guys are disrespectful for your ratepayers. That's all I can say. Every one of you. You can't speak for yourself. Right?
No comment.
Well, I'm commenting. I'm not letting up. Sorry. Don't look at me like I'm a criminal. This shit has happened.
Okay,
And
that's
you
enough.
guys are
That's
wrong.
enough. Okay. I concur. If you're not going to be respectful, Mr. Taylor, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And I don't want to do that. Okay, we heard your comments. We gave you a good listening to. We will discuss more than likely your situation, but we'll do that with legal review, and we'll proceed under the best legal advice. I will. I don't know that at this time. I can't tell you what the future brings. I don't know that. Yes, if there is a decision, then it will be announced, yes. You're correct. Okay. All right, is there anyone else in the public who would like to, from the gallery, who would like to come to address council? Please speak into the mic and state your name for the record, please.
Lynn Oberly. The three or four things to bring up here. One is road number 474 that's still on your road plan, and why I don't know. There's no particular need. Matter of fact, there is no need. Anybody in the area has roads accessing their holdings. And so why are you wasting money on it? Second point has to do with the value, in my mind, of the criminal record check. According to the Act, unless a person has a sentencing of 5 years or more, he is eligible to run. So have a criminal record check doesn't really mean much. If it's imposed on you, that's one thing, but at the same time, what's the value? And with regard to the spray rebate and the document from the Office of the Information and Privacy Officer, a couple of comments. It's rather interesting to note that every argument that the FOIP person on staff made as to why the applicant shouldn't have information has been declared invalid by the commissioner. It's rather interesting. And if that being the case, maybe that position should be reevaluated. And lastly, on that particular one, I don't know why you're so uptight about the law. It says that, this is the adjudicator now, says, I order the public body, that's you guys, or this outfit, to confirm to me and the applicant that it has complied with the order within 50 days. Now, I don't know why that needs to go to court. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members from the gallery who'd like to speak, members of the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I will close public input, and we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which will be, yes, we have an anniversary today that we're going to celebrate with Tom and Velma. So thank you for coming today. A couple of things that I would just like council to know, and those people who are here today. And Tom and Velma Impey are celebrating today their 63rd wedding anniversary. So I think that would be a wedding in 1961, if that works out right. They have 5 children and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. During their 63 years of marriage, they have led a rich and full life. Tom worked for Dowell Oil as a field engineer, which led Velma and Tom to live in England, Libya, Argentina, and Venezuela. Many of their children were born and raised abroad, which is very interesting. Sawmills and includes a very long history of military service. Tom and Velma are active in our community and have made many contributions over the years. Tom has served on the Breton Fire Department for many years, several as fire chief, and they continue to volunteer, currently actively helping with the Breton Museum. Tom and Velma, 63 years together is an incredible testament, which deserves to be recognized. We, the Council of Brazeau County, give you a warm congratulations and wish to express thanks for your many contributions to our municipality. So what we would like to do is, Tom and Velma, if you just come up to the front, I would like to get a picture with all of council. If we could, we have a gift for you and a card. And we would just like to acknowledge these years, 63 years of wedful bliss, if we could do that. So please come. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you. That's a real treat for us to be able to celebrate this milestone anniversary with you. So, go again, you guys? Are you guys ready? You need a few more minutes? Maybe Colin can come. Are you ready, Colin? Come on up if you are. Call the meeting back to order. Come on up. The microphone is yours, sir.
Oh, I got it mixed up. Oh, sorry, you're here already. March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
23? Okay, Colin, what say you? What are your findings, sir?
So just to follow up on the tabled motion in regards to the 2025 schedule of fees, in looking at the wishes of Councillor Brooks there, some wording on his. So again, for council's information, we are looking at page 95 of the agenda, number 3, under subdivision application. So as Councillor Brooks mentioned, he would like some wording on there just to deal with some coming back after an approved application. So the proposed amendment is to add a 3E with a line stating revision of approved application. And then Councillor Brooks can propose the fee he is thinking of there, but this would provide the guidance to staff once that application has been approved. When it does come back for any revisions to it, they would enact this line item in the schedule of fees to charge that nominal fee.
Councillor Brooks, go ahead.
Yeah, so it would just be, we'd be adding 3E, revision of approved application, and I was thinking $50. I don't know if that's too much, too little, but it's not really to recoup any costs. It's just to, you know, have people think twice before, you know, getting their application approved and going through the whole process. So that's all that I'm proposing, so I could make that in the form of a motion if we like, unless there's any other discussion.
Just a question. Tina, did we table a motion? Do you recall? Or
We just
just tabled the discussion? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Then a motion is in order.
Okay. Yeah? No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so revision of application. So I remember it being very onerous, the application. And every time I brought it back, there was something that I had missed. So maybe we could have examples.
So it's supposed to be revision of an approved application, so you've gone through the whole process, it's done. So it's gone to MPC, it's been approved, everything's done, your subdivision's complete, and then the borders aren't quite where you wanted them, or, you know, something like that. Or you want to change it for some reason, so you might amalgamate it back, put it back together, and then subdivide it again, that sort of thing. So that's what it is. So I'll move. Do I just move? I'll just be moving to add it, and then we'll have to approve the whole thing later.
Yes.
So I move to add under subdivision application 3E, revision of approved application with a fee of $50.
All right. Any comments? Any questions? Any clarification required? If there is none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? Just myself? Thank you. Colin, go ahead if you're...
Excellent. Yes, well, thank you, council. With that, administration would request that council give all required readings to the amended bylaw the amended schedule, 2025 schedule of fees and bylaw 1193-24. And as mentioned, the bylaw can be found on page 93 of your agenda. But it would be, yes, the schedule of fees as amended.
All right, thank you, Colin. Anthony, go ahead.
I move first reading of schedule fees bylaw 1193-24.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Glenn, go ahead.
I move to give second reading to bylaw 1193-24, 2025 schedule of fees amended.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Everyone's in favor. More direction. Councillor Wiltsey.
Do I go to? I move to go to third reading for bylaw 1193-24 to 2025 schedule of fees amended fees bylaw.
As amended, sure. Okay, any questions, clarification, discussion? All those in favor? That is carried unanimous. Third and final reading. Cody?
I move to give third reading to bylaw 1193-24, 2025 schedule of fees as amended.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Any opposed? No. Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Colin. Appreciate your time. Happy holidays. Yes, we can do that. Oh, please go ahead. If anyone wants to add to the agenda, go ahead.
I'd like to add something under the meeting dates for D. I move to add today's agenda our Drayton Valley Devon MLA Andrew Boychenko's Christmas open house. That's going to be December 17th, 2024, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m.
Okay, so the motion is just to add to the agenda. You got the email through there.
It's a Christmas open house.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? We're just going to add to the agenda, and then we'll ratify. Okay.
Anthony's got a question or comment.
Anthony, discussion?
I think that fits into the same thing as what we just talked about, or earlier talked about with the Reeves attendance at Piper social event. And on top of that, this one here would be one that's perhaps politically focused. So I would think it's not one that we're wise to even be, as a council, authorizing our attendance there. So I'm not in favor of this one.
Good comment. Glenn, go ahead.
We received an invitation for this. Council did.
We're still in discussion, though.
Yeah, so it was an invitation that just came today at 10:30, so it was a little late to add it earlier. I do think that we should make a presence or be part of it, or like I said, it does buy us a little bit of goodwill. It's not a big deal. It's in town. It's a couple of hours. I would expect it of my counselor. If this comes up, I would expect them to go. So that's why I'm adding this.
Anthony, go ahead.
My opinion, and from what we've been told in the past, we're supposed to be relatively neutral in terms of these types of representations. And I just think that in light of what we just said as a precedent a few minutes earlier in council meeting, I don't see this one any different. If we wish to go there, we each can go there on our own and go there as, happen to be a counselor, but we're going there as a private citizen, constituency member.
Okay, right now the direction is just to add to the agenda. So can we do that? Okay, so I'll call the question. That's all right. I don't want to cut you off, Cody, if you have something to say.
We're debating the actual item. We're not debating whether or not to put it on the agenda. So I was just going to mention that, and that was all it was.
Thank you, King of Brazeau. Okay, all right. All those in favor for addition to the agenda? All those in favor? Those opposed? One. Counselor Heinrich? Okay, ratification is next. Carry on.
I move to authorize council's attendance to the Drayton Valley Devon MLA's Christmas Open House, December 17th, 2024, 5 o'clock p.m. to 7 p.m.
Excuse me. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, seeing no lights on, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Kara and Glenn. Those opposed? Motion's defeated. Yes. That's right. Have a happy holiday. Okay. Closed sessions. Anybody prepared to send us in there? Kara, go ahead.
I move to go into closed session for item 16A, oil and gas lease revenue, FOIP section 16, and item 16C, privacy commissioner, FOIP section 17.
January 13th, 2025, closed session regarding oil and gas lease revenue.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously.
Yeah, I move to direct administration to further consult legal counsel regarding the decision of the privacy commissioner.
All right, any discussion on this motion? If there is none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is defeated. 4-2. And that's all the direction coming out of close for today. I think that's an administrative matter, but. Mhm. Okay. Are we ready to adjourn, everyone? Okay, go
I
ahead.
just wanted
Counselor.
to, there we go, just because with it being online now, we need the mics on. I move to adjourn.
All right, any discussion? Any Christmas wishes in here anywhere?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay, all those in favor? That's carried unanimously. We are adjourned. Merry Christmas.